The King of the Monsters gets ready for a colossal encounter. Here's your look at the Playmates toys Godzilla vs. Kong, the Mega Heat Ray Godzilla. Legends collide as Godzilla and Kong, the two most powerful forces of nature, clash in a spectacular battle for the ages. The monster war rages on the surface and deep within our world as the spectacular secret realm of the Titans, known as the Hollow Earth, is revealed. Before we get this review underway, the first thing we're going to want to do is clock in to see how tall Mega Heat Ray Godzilla actually stands. I'd like to thank as well the folks over at Playmates Toys that provided the sample of Mega Heat Ray Godzilla that we could have a look at in this review. I'm going to take the tape measure to what I feel to be is the tallest point, right at the very top of his head. And I'm going to stop it right there. According to the readouts, Mega Heat Ray Godzilla stands 13.4. Wow. That's a big boy. Switching that over to centimeters, revealing that the figure stands 34 centimeters exactly. The King of the Monsters comes included with a couple of accessories. 2 firing missiles, which you'll certainly see right in the vicinity of his feet, and something that's probably hard to make out by his smallest toenail. Now everybody's looking down by Godzilla's feet. What is that? Everybody is asking. Well, let me go ahead and pick this up and retrieve it and show you guys exactly what it is. I don't know while it would be scaled appropriately to the toy. Maybe it could probably have been maybe half the size. The fact that Playmates Toys would have sculpted and included a little tiny running soldier, I think is a nice touch. While it doesn't have any paint necessarily, I think it's been nicely sculpted and detailed. You can see he is running, and he's got himself a little gun in his hand. I would certainly also be running Little Soldier Man if a big giant lizard was stomping through my city. Again, I don't know if it would be appropriately scaled. I mean, when you look at how big it is, let's just put it down again by Godzilla's big giant toenail. I don't know. Maybe it could be a little bit smaller than that. But again, that's nickel and diming the idea that they actually did take the time to include a little tiny soldier. And I think that's a fun little touch. This is something, if I'm not careful though, this little tiny soldier man is probably going to get lost in my collection. So I'm going to have to find a good place to put him so I don't accidentally lose him. Well done, little soldier man. Run on. Run on. I'm going to put him over to here for the time being, making sure, of course, I know where he is at all times. Like I said, though, he does come with a couple of firing missiles. What they did do for this is use like I don't want to say clear, but a translucent blue plastic, and they seem to be identical to one another. They look like big, giant atomic firing Q-tips. They are nicely sculpted, as you can see, and being the fact that they did use a translucent plastic, they do nicely illuminate if you had like a light source running behind it. The idea with these, and I'm glad to see that they actually included 2 of these, is that you can take the big giant lizards, pick him up like this. You can actually open up his mouth, open wide, and inside Godzilla's mouth, there is a hole. You see it right there. You're going to go ahead and take this and fit it into his mouth. And when you are fitting it into his mouth, let me just show you. See how it's flat on the sides? See that? Flat there and flat there. Well, you will want to have that sideways. Just sort of fit that into his mouth. And you'll see it when you pop it in, you'll hear like a little clicking sound. Well, that then works towards the gimmick. The gimmick is located, if I spin this around to the side, a big giant button just here, very obviously shown here on the side of his body. It still blends well enough to the rest of his body, but still outlined, cut out nicely, so you know exactly where to press it. This, what we'll do is two things. It will fire both the missiles sticking out of his mouth, and it'll also illuminate all of this area right here as well. And it'll do it in stages. It will also illuminate Godzilla's eyes. Now, I have just stated a whole bunch of different things that it will do. I guess it probably would make some sense to actually fire it. Press it so you guys can see how it actually works. There is also a little speaker right on the side here that will project out the sound as Godzilla you'll hear him roaring. Again, I know everybody wants to see how it works. So what we're going to do, I'm going to press this button right here on the side. I'm probably going to put my hand right here to prevent that missile from firing across the room. And then you'll see 2 things happening. You'll see him shooting the missile off. And then you'll see doon, 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 doon. He'll be illuminating his spines. Let's go ahead and fire that right now. So press the button. Do it actually in a way that I can actually reach it. There we go. And it fired the missile. And you can also see it illuminated his eyes and lit up the platelets on his back. We can press that again to show you how it works. And that's fine and good, of course. It is nice to see that it illuminates, but I'm sure you guys would certainly want to see how that looks up close and personal. So we'll go ahead again, pick up Godzilla. I want to first of all show you guys the detailing that they did do to the face. I'm really happy with this one. Now again, with the eyes, it's hard to be able to illuminate the eyes and yet still have some feeling, some emotion in the eyes when you're actually not lighting it up. Though the eyes do appear slightly black, obviously, I still think that the sculpted in eyes do look quite good. The mouth does open and close, there's a tongue on the inside, and the teeth have been also painted in really nicely as well. There's a good front view of what Godzilla looks like. Spin it again around onto the side. Again, you've got a little button activation that we've already looked at extensively already, but again, we'll press that again in a second, and you'll see all the nice platelets, the spikes sticking out from the spine of Godzilla. There are a few that are painted in, for example, these ones right here, and then the ones that do light up are obviously making use of that translucent blue plastic. Boy, does it ever look great. And then down here in the tails section, which I will also mention, not only does it possess posability, but when you do get the Godzilla out of the packaging, you do have to take this and you have to attach it to the ball joint on the inside of this part of the tail. Now, I did have some difficulty putting this in place. I did end up having to submerge this part of his tail in hot water just to soften up the socket enough that I could actually successfully pop it onto the ball joint. But it does give you some afforded articulation. They can move back and forth on the tail. Godzilla also does have articulation on the arms, where you can actually move the arms in and out, and you can also rotate them all the way around. He also has the possessed means to be able to rotate his hands all the way around, and he does also have articulation in the legs, where you can move those back and forth, and you can also swivel his feet back and forth like this as well. This generally feels like it's hollow plastic, but again, based on the size of what this actually is, I wouldn't expect them to use solid plastic, and of course, inside there has to be the electronics to be able to illuminate all the things that you're seeing right here. There are a couple of visible pegs, and this simply is probably the case where they've taken the two halves of Godzilla and they probably have sandwiched it together. You probably also can see on the inside of his stomach, or on the bottom of his stomach, there's a little battery compartment. Don't worry, batteries are already installed. When you pick this piece up for yourself, you don't have to be scrounging around the house to go find yourself some new, fresh batteries. The batteries, like I said, are already inside. Again, we're going to go ahead and light this guy up by, again, pressing the button on the side. You can also hold the button as well, and I'll do that right now for this instance. It still works the same way, though, whether you press the button or you hold the button. It still seems to run for the same length of time. And again, we'll press it one more time here. The nice touch that they also did was allow for pupils to be visible on Godzilla when you have the eyes light up. They aren't simply just all lit up in blue. There's that little dot of a pupil right in the corners. Again, it's a great fun toy. Simply probably something that kids, I would imagine, would be wanting to be picking up for themselves. Something just because of the size of it, the fact that it does have a play function going for it as well. But I have to say, as being a big fan of Godzilla, and having just recently watched Godzilla vs. Kong and absolutely loved it, I may actually even watch it again this week. I was really anxious to start picking up some Godzilla vs. Kong toys. Even though this one is a little bit bigger, and it's Gimmick more so geared, I think, towards kids. I think adults were going to have a real fun time picking this one up and playing with it as well. I mean, who wouldn't want an oversized Godzilla in their collection? For the release of the movie Godzilla vs. Kong, Playmates have stocked the shelves well with Godzillas and Kongs of various size. If you are interested to pick up the Mega Heat Ray Godzilla, just know there's an appropriately scaled Kong that's going to go along with him that we're going to be having a look at in an upcoming review. This one has everything both kids and adults would love to have in a Godzilla. I think the firing missile projectile, well, it's fun for kids, of course, to be firing missiles across the room. Adults tend to be the ones that lose it. Just never find it again. I would be just inclined to leave the firing missile gimmick out of his mouth altogether and just rely on the fact that he does have the sound effects, which is fun. And of course, he does have the illuminated spikes and in his eyes. And that's the selling appeal for me and why I like the Mega Heat Ray Godzilla so much. The articulation on this figure is pretty much what you would expect for Godzilla. Swivel in his arms, wrists, swivel in his legs and his feet, and he does have the ball-jointed tail. But again, the appeal of this particular Godzilla is the fact he does have the sound effects and the illuminated spikes and eyes. And what a fun toy this is. Like I said, we are going to be looking also at a couple of other Godzilla and Kong figures, also from the folks over at Playmates Toys. Speaking of Playmates Toys, a big thank you to the folks over at Playmates that provided the sample of Mega Heat Ray Godzilla that we could have a look at in this review. Also, if you are new to this channel, enjoying all the content you're seeing on a regular basis, also, like myself, loved Godzilla vs. Kong. What a great popcorn movie that was. I had a real blast watching it. But if you are new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, you turn the bell notification on, and yeah, you come back to this channel on a regular basis because we are going to be looking at some more Godzilla vs. Kong toys. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.